Good morning. You may be seated. Honored graduates of the class of 2018, parents, family members and friends, members of the Board of Trustees, and members of the faculty and staff, welcome to Washington & Lee's 2018 commencement ceremony. We're here today to celebrate our graduating seniors, but our graduating seniors are here today thanks to many other people. Would the parents of today's graduates please stand? Would the grandparents please join them? Grandparents? Siblings? Aunts and uncles? Cousins? Friends? All right. I ask the graduates to contemplate this ocean of love and support and thank the people who've given so much of themselves for the sake of your happiness. Commencement is many things. This ceremony marks the opening of a new chapter in the life of each member of the class of 2018. You're about to be college graduates with all of the opportunities and responsibilities that entails. It is also inevitably an ending. You are no longer college students, and now leave behind the mode of life with all of its joys and challenges that have defined your years on campus. Commencement is a recognition of your notable achievement. The diploma you will receive formally certifies that you have met the rigorous requirements established by our faculty to earn a degree from Washington & Lee. Commencement is a celebration shared by those of you who have walked this path together and by all of those who have provided you with guidance and assistance at every step. Commencement is a sad goodbye to friends who will never again be together in the same way. It's an exciting launch to new places and possibilities. It's an opportunity to reflect upon all that you have done and all you hope to do. Commencement is above all a glorious day, and this is a glorious day. And I invite us all to pause for a moment and simply bask in appreciation of the place we are privileged to be and the occasion that brings us here. To the parents, my oldest child will head off to college this fall, and I hope in a few short years to be where you are today. Well, I won't be at W&L because my children have made it absolutely clear that as wonderful as this place is, they're not going to college where their dad is the president. But I hope that the places they go are as nurturing for them as Washington & Lee has been for your children. And I hope that as my children grow from 18 to 22, they learn and develop and mature as beautifully as your children have done here. I can only imagine the depth of your pride as you see your sons and daughters this morning and anticipate their crossing of the stage. I thank you for entrusting us with the most cherished part of your lives and allowing us to get to know these wonderful young people who are a constant source of inspiration to everyone at Washington & Lee. To the graduates, I arrived halfway through your junior year, and I'm grateful to have shared 18 months together. You've made a powerful and positive impression. I've watched you win ODAC championships and earn Scholar Athlete awards. I've seen you perform plays and heard you sing. I've lost count of the academic fellowships and honors you have won. You've taken me fly fishing on Buffalo Creek, beaten me at golf, joined me for coffee, and invited me to dinner at your fraternities and sororities. You will always be special to me as a senior class with whom I spent my first full academic year at W&L. You shared your love of this place with me and made me feel at home so quickly. I've enjoyed your company and admired the way you conduct yourselves. I look forward to getting to know you better in the years to come. I hope you'll remain connected to Washington & Lee and return to campus frequently. I will always look forward to seeing you and to hearing how things are going for the members of the great class of 2018. It is now time to thank some people who deserve special recognition. Those of you graduating today owe much of your education to our dedicated faculty and staff. Members of the faculty and staff have guided you, gently admonished you, supported you, and sometimes been astonished at what you have achieved. Would the faculty and staff please stand? Members of the class of 2018, please thank these dedicated individuals. I also want to offer particular thanks to everyone who works in facilities, dining, and public safety. Their overtime effort to make this an unforgettable weekend is the last and most meaningful of the many gifts they provided to you during your time at W&L. Thank you. All of the members of the faculty and staff contribute significantly to the education of our students, but I would like to give special recognition to those who will retire at the end of this academic year. Each of these individuals has served the university and all of our students with distinction. I will ask each retiree to rise when I call his or her name and ask them to remain standing until all are recognized. This year's list is especially long and especially distinguished, so please hold your applause until all of the names have been announced. I will call them in alphabetical order. Jennifer Ashworth, Julie Campbell, Dan Coffey, Macy Coffey, Libby Cumming, Marquita Dunn, Ruth Floyd, Bonnie Gates, Mark Grunwald, Barbara Higgins, Patrick Heinley, Joan Casper, Ed Mays, Betty Sue Moore, Bobby Moore, Denise Noose, Linda Newell, David Novak, Arthur Perry, Rolf Peranian, Danny Rexroad, Jackie Sandage, Leanne Shank, Rod Smith, Bill Stroud, Susie Thompson, Vernon Walker, Jim Warren, and Scott Wines. This represents 793 years of service to Washington and Lee University. I would also like to call your attention to the printed program. There you will find recorded a list of students who have won special honors and awards. Those honors and awards represent the stories and achievements of dozens of individuals who have excelled in many ways. This is also the time when we recognize the senior who has achieved the highest academic standing and is designated by the faculty as the class valedictorian. This year's valedictorian is Mallory Ellen Stevenson. Mallory has earned a BS with a major in biochemistry and a BA with a major in psychology. Hailing from Fincastle, Virginia, she was on the Dean's List and honor roll each and every term. A member of Phi Beta Kappa, the Academic Honor Society, she received its J. Brown Gehring Award for the sophomore with the highest GPA. Mallory deepened her expertise in biochemistry through a Howard Hughes Medical Institute Research Fellowship under the direction of W&L professor Eric Uffelman, with whom she co-authored several papers on their chemical analyses of cultural heritage objects. She received the Robinson Award in English Literature, History, and Social Sciences, the James Lewis Howe Award in Chemistry, and the James Keith Shillington Scholarship. Mallory also served on the executive board for the Chi Omega sorority as a peer tutor in inorganic and organic chemistry, in introductory and organic chemistry, and as a member of Cathicon. She was a teaching assistant for the psychology department, worked in the library as a help desk consultant and circulation desk assistant. Next year, she will pursue a PhD in developmental psychology at Virginia Commonwealth University. Congratulations to Mallory. We are privileged now to hear remarks on behalf of the graduating seniors from one of their classmates, Mason Greist. Mason is from Lexington, Virginia, and is graduating with majors in economics and religion with minors in classics and poverty studies. He was a member of the executive committee for 3 years, serving as its president not once, but twice. He's the only student in the history of W&L to do so. Mason led 3 pre-orientation trips on the Appalachian Trail with the Outing Club, was a member of Cathicon and Omicron Delta Kappa, and a peer counselor. After graduation, Mason is moving to DC to work for a higher education consulting firm, and he says he dreams one day of beating me at golf. Good luck with that. Please join me in welcoming Mason Gray.
Thank you, President Dudley. It's an honor to speak at the same podium where Professor Beckley spoke yesterday, as he's been a mentor to me in my study of theological ethics and poverty. And thank you, class of 2018, for giving me the privilege of speaking to you all this morning. I felt a lot of pressure preparing these remarks, as I've shared with many of you, and wondered how I could possibly capture our 4 years here in a few short minutes. As I was working on the speech in Hillel the other day, my advisor, Professor Howard Pickett, reminded me that the bad news about speaking at commencement is the same as the good news, and that's that 20 years from now, none of you are going to remember what I said anyway. So here we go. In contemplating what to say, I thought that I could talk about the many accomplishments of our class, the fact that this class has won 39 ODAC championships, has boasted 7 All-Americans, that we have 4 Fulbright scholars and a Rhodes finalist in our midst. But continuing to list the accomplishments of this class would take all day, and one of the parents of a good friend of mine has promised me a drink if I keep this thing under 8 minutes, so I think I'm going to try. Based on the state I saw some of you all last night at Kappa Hill, I think I'm going to try and get it in 6. The truth is, we've all had our own unique experience here. It would be a disservice to try and summarize every individual's time with a few predictable cliches about closing chapters and opening new doors. Instead, I want to try to capture the ethos that distinguishes Washington and Lee from any other university in the country, the people and the place. And I'll start with some insight from the people who have known this place for far longer than we have. The class of 1968, on the occasion of its 50th reunion, made a booklet of reflections and guidance for us as we graduate. Aside from the occasional rant about the deterioration of our country and the hopelessness of our generation, the class was almost unanimous in some of the advice that it gave us. Keep a good sense of humor, read a lot, keep your mind open to paths not yet seen. It struck me as I read through these comments the perspective that these gentlemen have. 28 seems tumultuous, but when these men graduated in 1968, it was an even more uncertain time for college graduates. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated the day of the class of 68's baccalaureate address, and several members wrote about their contemplation of making a run for Canada to avoid the Vietnam draft. For those of us who are still unemployed, at least we are not in that boat. The last alumnus that shared his thoughts wrote something that I found particularly poignant to us as we leave Lexington. He wrote that no matter the trials and tribulations, no matter the number of times that we've been upset with the administration for some reason or another, like the fact that they're always trying to kill the Greek system, each of us has benefited from W&L. Each of us has benefited a lot from W&L, and we have to keep that in mind as we move forward as alumni. We become stewards of this place when we graduate. Stewardship is an odd word, yet fitting to describe our relationship with W&L after today. It references the care for both people and place that I mentioned earlier, and I think 2 quick anecdotes are really helpful to conceive this. In our 4 short years here, we've had 2 student houses burned down. The most recent was the already infamous Windfall Fire, which happened in March of last year. For those that don't know, Windfall serves as a somewhat symbolic role as a metaphor for off-campus parties. Thankfully, all the students who lived there, and yes, students do in fact live at Windfall, were okay, but the house fire destroyed everything that they owned. In a display of care for the young men who lived in this symbolic structure, $37,000 were raised in just a few short days, and the young men there were able to replace all of their lost belongings. Many of the donors were alumni who cited great memories from Windfall over the past several decades. These alumni were stewards both of the place and of the people. The other student fire occurred in town 2 years ago, where a group of 10 W&L students were living. Again, all the students survived, but they too lost everything. A $10,000 GoFundMe campaign was started, and it resulted in over $15,000 in donations for these students, from current students, from parents, from alumni, and from athletic teams at W&L. While the structure itself did not hold memories for many of these people who donated money, the individuals, the W&L students inside, invoked donations from across the W&L community. So these 2 aspects of W&L, the place and the people, will change after we leave. W&L will never be the same for future generations of students as it was for us. We've seen a lot of change even in the short time that we've been here. We love reminding younger classes that we were the last one to live in Gillum. We were the first one to live in third-year housing. Lee Chapel, which this year celebrates its 150th anniversary, has played host to 3 open hearings since we've been here. And in case anyone was still on the edge of their seat, Windfall 2.0 has been rebuilt and is back up and running. The people here have changed too. As President Dudley mentioned, he joined us in the middle of our junior year, and many of our favorite professors have retired, even as professors that we maybe wish had retired have stuck around. The biggest change in people, of course, will be the class of 480 freshmen that will arrive this fall. Many of these students are our siblings, including my twin sisters, who will be freshmen. The arrival of these students finally made tangible, for me at least, the fact that it's time for us to go. And not just because I don't want to see my little sisters running around at the poll houses on Friday night. We've all gained something in our last 4 years at W&L. We've had successes and failures. We've had our worldviews challenged, strengthened, changed, or all 3. All these experiences have brought us where we are today, both in this physical place between the Colonnade and Lee Chapel, but also here with the faculty, friends, and family who surround us. And it would be selfish for us to withhold the opportunity for successes and failures from future generations of students. While we've all had our own unique experience, we've also had shared experiences, some of which I've mentioned before, and some of which I won't share with our families around. Coming here will never be the same, though the quality of the place and the quality of the people will never change. Some of the details will fade from our memories, but the commitment to honor and personal integrity that we've cultivated here will always remain at the forefront of our minds. And I'm sure that more than one of you just won a bet for me mentioning the honor system. So here we are, at the end of a speech full of cliches I promised I would avoid. I want to end with a reflection on our motto, which is probably the biggest cliche ending that you could have thought of, but I'm going to do it anyway. Our school's motto, Non Incautus Futuri, loosely translates as not unmindful of the future, and it compels us as an institution to reflect on our past in order to inform the future. 12 members of our community took that motto to heart this past year as they researched and discussed our school's fascinating but complex and challenging history this year as part of the Commission on Institutional History and Community. But our motto also contains a message that's important to us to think about as individuals. As we move on here and we remain not unmindful of the future, we remember that this place, the people here, influence decisions and our lives in ways that we can be tangible. Wow, that was a little bit of a stutter. You can tell that this is the part that I didn't write because I had no idea how to conclude this speech. In ways that are tangible because we'll be able to see them in our careers as doctors and executives, but also because at the end of the day, a lot of the decisions that we make come from the fact that we've spent 4 unique years here, cultivated and shaped by our friends, faculty, and family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mason. He went off script a little at the end, but that's because he was speaking from the heart, so we appreciate it. It is a privilege to address the class of 2018 on the occasion of your commencement. I would have been so proud to be selected as your speaker, but of course the president always delivers the graduation remarks at Washington and Lee. Despite not having been chosen, it's a great honor. I remember when I sat, as you do now, surrounded by classmates wearing identical gowns, waiting to receive our diplomas. It's a surreal experience. This is the moment toward which you've been working diligently since you entered college. But it's also a transition so momentous and abrupt that it is difficult to believe it is actually taking place. It's like an out-of-body experience. It feels like it must be happening to somebody else. Your minds are swirling with emotion as you anticipate a cruelly short time from now, saying tearful goodbyes to your closest friends with whom you spent these precious years, simultaneously sharing joyful reunions with your families who are bursting with pride and happiness, and then facing the hard, inescapable reality of driving down the road while your beloved campus recedes in the rearview mirror. It's also a safe bet you didn't get a lot of sleep last night. All of which makes it difficult for you to listen to me. On my graduation day, a very distinguished speaker delivered what I am sure were wise remarks from which I had much to learn. I can't recall a word he said. I was focused on the pressing question of whether my relationship with my girlfriend would survive long distance. You can guess how that one turned out. So I realize I'm competing for your attention, but I'm going to keep talking anyway, and you can let me know at your 10th reunion whether anything I say this morning sticks with you. Let's begin by recalling your very first moments at W&L. It was early September 2014, and the night before the start of fall term classes, you all assembled, eager and nervous, for honor orientation in Lee Chapel. President Ruscio welcomed you, made introductory remarks, and then he left, dramatically symbolizing the fact that responsibility for the honor system rests with the students at Washington and Lee. Lucy Shapiro, president of the executive committee, invited you to join this community. Equally importantly, she invited you to leave it if you could not commit to being worthy of its trust. You chose to stay, and we're glad you did. Today marks the conclusion of the college journey that began that night. In 4 short years, you've lived, worked, and played on every inch of this beautiful campus. From Graham Lee's and Gaines to Red Square and third-year housing, which you were the first class to occupy. From D Hall and Hillel House to Leyburn Library and the Science Center. From Wilson Field and the Warner Center, in which you were the last class to compete, to the Outing Club Barn, House Mountain, and the Maury River. You've made this place your own, which it will always be. Sitting here this morning, you've come full circle. Lee Chapel is where you entered this community and where you now take leave of it. Lee Chapel opened its doors exactly 150 years ago today, just in time to host commencement in 1868. Young people like you graduated from Washington College and set forth from Lexington to seek their futures. They traveled by foot or by horse or by rail because neither the automobile nor the airplane nor Uber had been invented. It was a very different time. And yet, this year, your senior year, that period immediately after the Civil War has been decidedly present. When you returned to school last fall, I appointed the Commission on Institutional History and Community and charged it with leading us in a thoughtful examination of our history and with identifying opportunities to teach and represent it as well as possible for the educational benefit of everyone who spends time on this campus. In that spirit, I want to spend a little time thinking about the history of the building behind me. It means different things to each of you. Some of you have used it for worship or reflection. Some of you have entered it to listen to distinguished speakers or to be inducted into Phi Beta Kappa or ODK. Some of you have introduced it to prospective students and families on admissions tours. Some of you may not have set foot in it since your honor orientation. But whatever Lee Chapel means to you, however you think about it, however it makes you feel, you will always have it in common as the iconic visual centerpiece of the campus, and as the place where you first came together as a class, and as the place where you will shortly receive your diplomas and celebrate your graduation. So let's consider its history, taking as our guide a new book by local author David Cox, Lee Chapel at 150, which I recommend to anyone who would like to know more about this university. When Robert E. Lee arrived at Washington College, there was no proper chapel, just a room in Washington Hall, right where my office now happens to be. At the end of his first academic year, in 1866, President Lee reported to the trustees, quote, "A larger chapel is much needed. The room currently used is too small and badly adapted to the purpose. It is moreover required for additional lecture rooms into which it could be conveniently converted." The trustees were persuaded by Lee's argument that the project was necessary to enhance both the spiritual and the academic life of the college, and they gave their approval for its construction, which took place over the following 2 years. The chapel was the first new building at Washington College after the Civil War, and likely the first on campus constructed without slave labor. The chapel was then, as it is now, used for both religious and secular purposes. During Lee's presidency, it held non-denominational services, lectures, concerts, administrative meetings, and even YMCA functions. It was the Elrod Commons of its day. Upon Lee's death in 1870, the faculty voted to preserve his office as he left it, and the trustees asked his family to bury him at the chapel, which thus became also a mausoleum. The recumbent statue commissioned to mark Lee's grave arrived in Lexington in 1875, but it sat in a box for 7 years, awaiting the addition to the chapel that was needed to house it. When the expanded chapel reopened in 1883, its focal point was the newly installed statue, and the building now contained portraits, including those of Washington, Jefferson, Madison, and other dignitaries from Virginia. The chapel still served the active needs of the community, but now it also did double duty as a place of pilgrimage for those paying homage to Lee. Throughout the first half of the 20th century, the chapel increasingly came to be regarded as the shrine of the South. The 100th anniversary of Lee's birth in 1907 was commemorated with ceremonies around the country, and the President of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt, called for the creation of a national memorial to Lee. Here at W&L, Confederate flags decorated the chapel, probably for the first time, for the occasion, and it had now become standard to refer to the building as Lee Chapel. After World War I, enrollment grew, and the chapel, now 50 years old, was again too small for the university community. W&L President Henry Louis Smith, who harbored a strong dislike for the chapel's Victorian aesthetic in contrast to what he regarded as the much more beautiful Greek revival of the colonnade, proposed to knock it down and replace it with a structure twice the size. The Lexington chapter of the United Daughters of the Confederacy successfully fought the idea. They suggested if the university needed a larger gathering space, it should build a separate assembly hall somewhere else on campus and leave Lee Chapel alone. The museum beneath the chapel opened in 1928. 2 years later, at the outset of what would prove to be the 30-year presidency of Francis Pendleton Gaines, Confederate flags were placed permanently around the statue of Lee, where they remained until just 4 years ago. In 1963, the chapel required significant renovation, which was completed in time for the graduation of those alumni who celebrated their 55th reunion this year. Those young men, when they entered the chapel, saw the portraits had been reduced to 2, those of Washington and Lee that hang today. President Fred Cole remarked that in the course of the first century of its existence, the chapel had come to serve 5 distinct purposes: a symbol of Lee's influence on the university, a place of worship and reflection, an auditorium, an art gallery, and a public museum and national shrine, all at once. Since then, the chapel has continued to be all of those things, hosting assemblies, speakers, exhibitions, memorial services, and more than a few weddings. The 21st century has seen the focus shift increasingly to Lee the educator, with the bicentennial of his birth on that theme in 2007 and the removal of the Confederate flags in 2014. The chapel's been more than Lee ever imagined or would have wanted. He conceived a simple, undecorated space that would bring the community together and serve its spiritual and academic needs. Lee did not plan a mausoleum or a museum, and certainly not a Confederate memorial, which he urged his contemporaries not to erect, on the grounds that such markers would keep open the sores of war. How right he was. The need that Lee sought to address when he accepted the presidency of Washington College and built this chapel remains with us today. In all of our differences, we need to find and forge enough in common to constitute a genuine community. This project is critical not only at W&L, but to every town and state in the country and to the nation itself. It's also the focal point of the work of Danielle Allen, professor of politics at Harvard, who spoke to you last September at the convocation ceremony with which your senior year formally began. Her talk that day was entitled Democracy 101, and in it she drew upon ideas developed in 2 of her brilliant books, Our Declaration and Talking to Strangers. Allen poses and pursues a question critical to the success of any democracy. What modes of citizenship can make a citizenry whole without covering up difference? She warns us that democratic communities are threatened when citizens regard each other with mutual distrust and disdain. We cannot govern ourselves effectively or live together happily if we cannot talk to each other, negotiate in good faith, and achieve effective compromise. Because trust among fellow citizens is not automatic, it must be cultivated. We need, Allen says, muscular habits of trust production. I wish I had coined that phrase. Muscular habits of trust production are the key to successful communities. Allen looks for the source of these habits in relationships where the bonds of trust are most pronounced: friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood. Friends, brothers, and sisters do not always agree with each other. But they know that the preservation of their relationship is more important than winning any particular dispute. Friends are aware that their own self-interest involves sometimes giving up what they want for the sake of the other people who are important to them. Friends trust that such self-sacrifice will be reciprocated rather than unfairly exploited. Allen, following Aristotle, urges us to, quote, convey the wisdom of friendship into politics. This does not mean we have to like all of our fellow citizens or even all of our fellow classmates. But it does mean we need to pay attention to their needs and interests and to exhibit goodwill toward them. Successful community requires genuine concern for the good of others whom we do not know and with whom we have real differences and disagreements. Let's be honest, it's not easy. But Allen encourages us to make a start by getting in the habit of asking ourselves in our encounters with strangers, would I treat a friend this way? If we take this question seriously, would I treat a friend this way? If we try to act as if strangers were our friends, talking to them as equals, treating them with respect, even being willing sometimes to put their interests ahead of our own, we will contribute to the production of mutual trust. We will be more likely to receive such treatment from strangers in return, and we will create communities of the sort in which we want to live. How will we know if we're succeeding? Allen proposes that, quote, the final test of whether we have managed to cultivate political friendship in our own communities is whether a stranger to our neighborhood, any stranger, also willing to act like a political friend, could land there and flourish in conjunction with us. This is a test we want to pass at Washington and Lee. It's a test we want to pass in Lexington, Virginia. And it's a test we want to pass throughout the United States. Members of the class of 2018, you've got this. You are prepared to be the engaged citizens that it is our mission to produce. You landed here as strangers. You've made friends. But just as importantly, Washington and Lee has helped you to cultivate muscular habits of trust production. The honor system has asked you to be trustworthy and to trust others. The speaking tradition has encouraged you to acknowledge strangers as if they were friends. Liberal arts education has taught you to listen attentively, interpret judiciously, and reason persuasively. We live in a world in which distrust has gone viral. Take the habits you have developed here at W&L and change the world one small encounter at a time. Wherever you go, whomever you meet, whether in person or online, ask yourself, would I treat a fellow general this way? Washington and Lee is an oasis of trust. Export it to your future communities by posing that question, would I treat a fellow general this way? And then act accordingly as often as you can. You and all of your fellow citizens will be better for it. Thank you. We come now to the point in our program when we recognize outstanding individuals whose lives we hold up to you as examples of how you should live yours, whose records of achievement and personal character exemplify this institution's highest ideals. Today we bestow honorary doctorates on Dr. Marjorie Agosin and Dr. Harlan Beckley. Will the university registrar please escort Marjorie Agosin to the front of the podium? I now recognize Suzanne Keene, Dean of the College, and Thomas H. Broadus, Jr., Professor of English, who will read the honorary degree citation.
Marjorie Agosin, poet, human rights activist, memoirist, and literary scholar, we welcome you to a campus that has long admired your writings and the range and meanings of your work. You were born in Maryland and raised in a Jewish home in Chile, and then returned to the United States as a teen. You received your bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia, with majors in both philosophy and Spanish literature, and your master's degree and PhD from Indiana University in Spanish literature. In 1982, you joined the faculty at Wellesley College, where you now hold the Luella Lamer Professorship in Latin American Studies. At Wellesley, you have taught courses on writing, on historical and political memory, on Jewish women writers, and on Latin American culture. Like Wellesley, Washington and Lee is fundamentally concerned with undergraduate education in the liberal arts tradition, and we applaud and celebrate your commitment to the teaching vocation in the liberal arts. Your writing career has been prolific and significant. You are a writer of poetry. You are a writer of memoir. You are a writer of fiction. You are a writer of literary criticism. All of your work blends together to form a whole that engages many of the most challenging issues of our day. Your many books, essays, and poems include A Cross and a Star, Memoirs of a Jewish Girl in Chile, Melodious Women, Starry Night poems, Always from Somewhere Else, a memoir of my Chilean Jewish father, The Alphabet in My Hands, a writing life, and The Angel of Memory. Your writings bear testimony to political violence in a uniquely deft, fiery, and exquisitely wrought style, from the incandescent poems of Las Islas Blancas to the suspenseful prose of I Lived in Butterfly Hill. Your writing has been described as a brilliant constellation of hope, wisdom, and compassion, and your attention to the combinations of migration and memory seems particularly potent to our current historical moment. What you describe in one poem as being a traveler through demented and subtle geographies. Your work has been recognized with such distinguished awards as the Gabriela Mistral Medal for Lifetime Achievement from the Government of Chile, a United Nations Leadership Award for Human Rights, the Good Neighbor Award from the National Council of Christians and Jews, the Fritz Redlich Award from the Harvard Program in Refugee Trauma, and a Pura Belpré Award for celebrating Latinx cultural experience. Marjorie Agassi, poet, human rights activist, memoirist, and literary scholar, we recognize you as one of the leading voices in our age for those seeking to chart their way among the many paths and perils of this time. It is our honor to bestow upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I pronounce you Doctor of Humane Letters of Washington and Lee University. Congratulations. Will the University Registrar please escort Harlan Beckley to the front of the platform? I now recognize Rob Strawn, Crawford Family Dean of the Ernest Williams School of Commerce, Economics, and Politics, and Professor of Business Administration, who will read the honorary degree citation.
Harlan R. Beckley, teacher, scholar, ethicist, advocate for social justice. Your influence on Washington and Lee University, our community, for more than 4 decades has been profound. Your impact is apparent in generations of W&L graduates, especially alumni of the Shepherd Program for the Interdisciplinary Study of Poverty and Human Capability, the pioneering curriculum that you conceived and built into one of the university's signature experiences. Reflecting on the Shepherd Program's transformative influence, an alumna wrote, "It not only taught me the importance of facing the social issues in our communities, but more importantly, the program taught me that it is our responsibility as members of the entire community to help. Indeed, you ask our entire W&L community to help by actively serving our neighbors in Lexington and Rockbridge County. The result was the development of such invaluable community engagement programs as Campus Kitchen, the Bonner Program, the Community Academic Research Alliance, and Neighbor Service League. Under your leadership, the Shepherd Program would become a model for higher education, and you would become founding director of the Shepherd Higher Education Consortium, which now comprises more than 24 undergraduate and professional schools that offer coursework in poverty studies and sponsor summer internships around the world. Raised on a farm in central Illinois, you earned a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Illinois and then studied for a year at Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C., before transferring to Vanderbilt University. There you earned a master's degree in Christian ethics, graduating with the highest grade point average in the Master of Divinity program, and won the Divinity School's Founders Medal. You continued graduate studies at Vanderbilt while serving as a minister for 3 small Methodist churches in Kingston Springs, Tennessee, and earned a PhD, also in Christian ethics. In 1974, you arrived in Lexington to start what would become a 44-year career at Washington and Lee University. In addition to courses in the Bible and comparative religion, your teaching would include contemporary theology and ethics and Christian historical theology. Your extensive scholarship on social justice led to the publication of Passion for Justice, the book in which you compare the theories of justice of theologians Walter Rauschenbusch, John A. Ryan, and Reinhold Niebuhr. You have been recognized for your teaching with the Outstanding Faculty Award for the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, the Commonwealth's highest honor. And you were nationally recognized in your field as president of the Society of Christian Ethics. Though your impact in the classroom was the heart of your W&L career, you have provided wise and valuable counsel through your service to the university, especially during the 2005-2006 academic year when you were W&L's acting president. You have given generously of your own time and talents to the Lexington and Rockbridge communities through participation in and leadership of numerous volunteer organizations. As an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church, you have not only preached from the pulpits of area churches on many occasions, but you have also ministered to the W&L community, individually and collectively, in times of great need. Along the way, you have benefited mightily from the partnership with your wife and former W&L First Lady, Debbie, an invaluable member of our community, and also from the support of your 3 children, Benjamin, Jonathan, and Rachel. Harlan R. Beckley, pioneer in the study of poverty, influential teacher, Fletcher O.D. Thomas Professor of Religion Emeritus, and valued colleague and friend. It is our honor today to bestow upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I pronounce you Doctor of Humane Letters at Washington and Lee University. Congratulations. We come now to the main event. Having declared you ready to make us proud as citizens and as graduates of this fine university, let's make it happen. I now recognize Mark Connor, Provost, and Joe and James Ballingy, Professor of English, who will present the candidates to receive their degrees. Their names will be read in alphabetical order.
Will all of the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science please rise? President Dudley, I have the honor to present 441 candidates for baccalaureate degrees. They have been examined by the faculty and approved by the Board of Trustees. I ask you by your official act to confer upon them their degrees.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Washington and Lee University, and upon the recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you, respectively, the degree of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science of Washington and Lee University. Congratulations. When your name is called, please come forward to receive your diploma. I ask the audience to hold applause until all graduates have been recognized.
Francis Walker Abbott, cum laude. Catherine Wheelock Geeti Ahmed, honors in English. Anna Elizabeth Alexander, magna cum laude. Francisco Alimonda. Stephen Thomas Allen. Catherine Elizabeth Allner. William Henrik Archie, cum laude. Lauren Victoriana Arsenis. Liliana Mao-Ching Arnold. Sarah Caitlin Arrington. Emily Augusta Elizabeth Austin, honors in religion. Abigail Thayer Avery. Rachel Marie Baer. John Torrey Baird III. Elizabeth Ann Balistreri. Howard Pruitt Ball. Caroline Elizabeth Barber. Tira Aaron Barrett. Michael Peter Berry. Andrew William Barth, cum laude. Harley Janelle Jordan Bean. Abigail Eiley Beasley. Gyllenhaal Johannes Beck, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Brett Thomas Becker, cum laude. Shannon Joy Belforti. Sophia Vittori Benoit. John Mickman Blaine, cum laude. Benek Rehana Boluhana, cum laude. Caroline Tucker Bones. Caroline Kathleen Boris. Spencer Leon Borick, cum laude. Grace Harvard Bowen, cum laude. Clyde Finley Bowie III, cum laude. Theodore Lawrence Bowie. Anne Banks Boyd. Emily Caroline Boys. John Perry Bozeman. Alice Elizabeth Martin Bradford, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Walker Edward Brand. Owen Cullen Brannigan. Charlotte Maisie Braverman. Tricia Marie Bravi. William Glenn Brewster. Thomas Bailey Briley, honors in English, cum laude. Ryan Jefferson Brink, cum laude. Carson Robert Bryant. Matthew Allen Bryson. Caroline Maeve Burke. Parker Elizabeth Burris, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Maria Jose Bustamante Hernandez. Catherine Parker Butler. Thomas Sullivan Caldwell, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Julianne Campbell. Rachel Leah Campbell. John Anthony Carmody, cum laude. David Bradford Carson, Jr. Elizabeth Hunt Case. Jacob Gregory Cash. Jessica Natalie Costello. Christopher Chi Wei Chang. Elisabeth Hartampila. Bianca Jessica Maria Chiappelloni, honors in politics, cum laude. Jane Taylor Chavely. Austin Choi. Coralie Yu Chu. Stephanie Roslyn Isabel Chung, honors in sociology and anthropology, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Thomas Hamilton Claiborne, Jr. Rebecca Candler Clausen, cum laude. Robin Michelle Cleary, cum laude. Andrew Lehman Coates, Jr. Clotilda Westcott Delara Cobbs, honors in art history. Samuel Arthur Cochran. Michael Ian Colavita, magna cum laude. Emily Bryant Cole. Nancy Esther Coleman. Hayden Paul Combs, honors in economics, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Corey James Connolly. Charles Robinson Corey, Jr. Raymond Emery Cox, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Kendall Coxon. Francis Rennert Coy. Austin Thomas Crane. Michael Patrick Kulick. Elizabeth Hodge Curtis. Ryan Allen Curto. Andrew Scott Cuthbert, magna cum laude. Catherine Ann Dahlia, cum laude. Molly Mackenzie Dalton. Audrey Taft Dangler, cum laude. Brian Christopher Daniels. Samuel Lyons Dardney. Francisco Shapley Talbert Davis. Brian Taylor Denon. Keith Aaron Saul Denning, cum laude. Dashel Alamahina Patton Derricks. Dana Karen D'Souza. Salvador Joseph Diaz, cum laude. Paul William Diven. Zoe Legate Dobson. Charlotte Alexandra Doran. Abigail Merriweather Dorward. Sarah Riley Dotterer, cum laude. Robert M. Doyle V. Jessie Caroline Drennan, honors in English, cum laude. Alexa Marie Dreyer. Dana Elizabeth Droz, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Patience McDowell Dubé. Erin Nicole Duffy. Patrick Reeves Duggan. Clara Amelia Easterlin. Courtney Sloan Ellis, cum laude. Emily Dixon Ellis, cum laude. Pierce Thompson Embry. William Hiyunung magna cum laude. Dylan Alice Ephraimson Apt. Alden Thomas Ewing. Hannah Lynn Falchuk, cum laude. Luke Matthew Farley, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Ashley Victoria Faulkner, honors in journalism and mass communications. Peter Keith Feldstein, cum laude. Aaron Mo Ferber. Andrea Catherine Ferrero, magna cum laude. John Pope Fields. Christina Michelle Fleener. Charles Thomas Flowers. Nathan Joseph Frank. Yelizaveta Viktorovna Pogorelova Freed. Elizabeth Fenner French. Peyton Taylor Frick. Jeremy Kane Friedlander. Joshua Adam Frost. Cassidy Elizabeth Fuller. Erin Victoria Fikes. Cynthia Rose Gadley. Jack Richard Gagnon. Rachel Christine Gallagher. Riley Lourdes Garcia. Caitlin May Gardner. Max Sander Garrett, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Dana Purser Gary, magna cum laude. Andrew Caleb Gavlin, cum laude. Benjamin Christopher Gee, honors in English. Nicholas Kent George, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Kennedy Anna Gibson Wynn. Kyle Ralph Gifford. Austin Robert Gilbert. Justin James Gillette, honors in philosophy. Jordan Lynn Goldstein. John Keith Green, Jr. Alexander Zachary Greenspan. Lily Marie Grella. Thomas Mason Greist, honors in religion, cum laude. Julia Ann Gazelle. James W. Guider. Caroline Young-E Han. Madeline Anna Haight. Daniel Gregory Hall. Mary Frances Elizabeth Hall, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Perry Burks Hammond, honors in classics. Christina J. Hahn. Kelly Ann Hera, cum laude. Terrell Ravenel Harrigan. Chandler Boone Harrison. Justin Fisher Hart. Ralston Carter Hartness, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Courtney Danielle Hauk, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Kevin Lawrence Haverman. William Widdishin Hawkins. Michael William Hager. Graham Edward Helgens. Arlette Hernandez, honors in English, cum laude. Alexander Herbert Hare. Camilla Ann Higgins, cum laude. Madeline Catherine Hill. Kaylee Marie Hinton. David N. Hochstadt, cum laude. Ryan Elizabeth Hodgson, cum laude. Claire Rachel Hoffert. Lauren Klein Hoffman, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. David Walker Hogan, cum laude. Caroline Ashmore Holliday, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Caroline Bishop Holloway. Shlomo Honig, honors in geology, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Teresa Marie Horan, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Edward Randall Hudson IV. Danielle Rosemary Hewson, honors in English, magna cum laude. Olivia Bowen Hunter, cum laude. Catherine Ho Huntley. Ted William Hurst. Matthew Stevenson Inglis, cum laude. Truth Osebia Iyaware, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Anne Rollins Jakovich, cum laude. Kelsey Nicole Jervis, cum laude. Christian Hayden Johnson. Richard McKenna Johnston. Courtney Janelle Jones, cum laude. Sarah Elizabeth Jones, honors in sociology and anthropology. Rujwal Joshi. Thomas Lee Joyner IV. Kara Sweeney Judge, honors in philosophy. John Joseph Juneau II, honors in economics. Matthew David Commoner. Ellen Marie Kenzinger, honors in studio art, magna cum laude. Victoria Ava Kazmierczyk. Daniel Talmadge Keel IV. Aylin Margaret Kelly. Claudia Cecilia Casala, magna cum laude. Mohammed Tamzid Khan. Alice Morgan Kilduff, honors in economics, magna cum laude. Andrew Allen Kim. Savannah Lynn Kimball, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Jeremiah Clay Kirby. Sterling Dimitri Kirk. Kevin Eugene Kirchner. Olivia Paris Klosterman. Samuel McGinnis Napke. Caleb Cofield Knight. Emily Linnea Koshard, cum laude. Lawrence McGowan Kostov. Olivia A. Kubley, cum laude. Evan Scott Kiefner, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Emily Lauren Kyman. We now pause momentarily as we switch sides. Soon we'll resume with the other half of the candidates. Good. 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 Magdalena Lana, magna cum laude. Gregory Brantley Lawson. Caroline Frances Leek. Elizabeth Stellings Lee. Taylor Douglas Lee, cum laude. Chase Noble Leby, honors in art history. Brandon S. Lefore. Ryan Paul Lennon. Jack William Lentz. Daniela Leon Osorio, magna cum laude. Mackenzie Hayes Leroy. Jackson Hines Lyles. Emily Elizabeth Limmer, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Jacqueline Adele Llewellyn. Tara Nicole Lockery, cum laude. Arthur Dwayne Love. Mitchell Calvin Lowery. Matthew Joseph Lubis. Michael Gustav Lucas. Marin Rebecca Lundgren, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Henry Rudolph Luzzatto. Maggie M. Ma, cum laude. Margaret Fitzsimmons McCowett. Lillian Johnson McDonald. Andrew Valiant Ma, honors in neuroscience, magna cum laude. Joshua Daniel Sullivan Malm. Julie Ruth Malone, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Allison Murray Manley. Ellen Virginia Manson, cum laude. Philip Daniel Morella III. Ethan Morris Markman. Mark Gregory Marks. Ullara Ashlyn Martin. Jane Elizabeth Martin. Alicia Martinez, cum laude. George Robert Matlich, magna cum laude. Andrew Duncan Maxwell. Susanna Sophia Meyer. Elizabeth Sayori McDonald, cum laude. Liam Scott McElhenney. Alexis Lene McGriff. Lauren Ruth McManus. Robert Daniel McMaster. William Francisco McMurtry. Amanda Jo Metter. Alexandra Rebecca Milik, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Rebecca Elizabeth Melkerson, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Claire Marie Myers. Lindsay Weinman Michaels. Joanne Michelle. Anna Olivia Molesky, cum laude. Rachel Jordan Miller. Kevin Zachary Molnar. Catherine Helen Monks, honors in English, magna cum laude. George Henry Rembold Moore. Samuel Lafayette Moore. Lucas Michael Morell, honors in English, cum laude. Brian Stephen Morgan. Rebecca Brian Morris, honors in religion, cum laude. Jacqueline Finch Maruzzi, honors in English. Brendan Brooks Murphy, honors in religion. Patrick Liam Murphy, cum laude. Tyler Daniel Murphy. Clayton Shaw Murtha. Monica Lee Musgrave. Jason Charles Myers, cum laude. Kendra Elizabeth Adair Nadell. Daisy Norwood Kelly. Sabe Shimuyumukiza. William Joseph Newty. Jeremy Raymond Lee Orchard. Rebecca Lauren Orsak, honors in accounting, magna cum laude. Christopher Robert Ozier. Hannah Louise Palmateri, honors in religion, cum laude. Zachary Michael Pappen. Kelsey Tate Park. Kevin Matthew Parker. Karishma Deepak Patel, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Nicholas Howard Peck, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Madison Elizabeth Penniger. Russell Ludwig Percivalle Jr. Ron Aaron Peretz, cum laude. Emily Elizabeth Perzik, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Eleanor Marie Peterson. Nicholas Blackburn Peterson. Kristen Marie Flieger. Ezekiel Piantoni. Faith Elizabeth Pino. Burke B. Plater. Lee Delia Poach. Alexander E. Polera. Hannah Taylor Powell. Peyton Michael Powers. Catherine Merritt Pranka. Haley Elizabeth Price. Sarah Elizabeth Pricey, cum laude. McKenna Lynn Quattro. Maria Wishart Rushal. McKenna Kaiolani Rakowska. Michael Francis Rollo, magna cum laude. Rachel Ann Randolph. Ram Huresh Raval, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Thomas Gray Reams, cum laude. Emma Grace Redding. Rachel Elizabeth Ryback. Liam Daniel Reuter. William Marshall Rhine, honors in politics. Matthew Warner Rickert. Connor Patrick Ridlin. Connor Craig Rydell, magna cum laude. Benjamin Michael Ratano. Haley Beatrice Rising. William Grayson Rixey. Elizabeth Camp Roos. Jacob Marvin Rosen. Cole Bradley Rosenberger. Andrew Martin Ross. Samuel Garrett Ross. Kyle Edmund Rudicilli. Kelly Renee Ruffing. Alfred Lampard Ruwagaju. Matthew Clinton Sackett Jr. Caroline Isabel Saltzman. Margaret Elizabeth Sands. Kylie Elizabeth Sapp, honors in journalism and mass communications. Alden Cook Shade, cum laude. Benjamin Bernard Schaefer. Zachary Lee Schaefer. Madeline Meade Schaefer. Noah Christian Schammel. Caroline Grace Shell. Jerry Anthony Schecksnyder III. Aaron Schmidt. Dana Caroline Schultz. Eliza Ann Schultz. Nathaniel S. Sinta, magna cum laude. Cassie Ann Scott, honors in sociology and anthropology, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Matthew Robert Scrow. Brianna Lachelle Shaw. Jared Allen Raymond Sheely. Joseph Patrick Sherwood. Michael Kirk Shields, Jr. Samuel Schuster Siegel. Sydney Catherine Sykes. Mary Elizabeth Silliman, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Catherine Chapman Simpson, honors in psychology, cum laude. Alexander Henry Singer, cum laude. William Walter Allen Singer. Julie Kate Sklar. Robert Wesselhoff Smalley. Mamie Elizabeth Smith, cum laude. They need to move them up faster. Natalie Sloan Smith, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Scott, you good? Ruth Torian Smith. Margaret Bishop Snedden. Lee Marvin Sommerfeld, cum laude. Alexandra Page Sorticio. Katrina Karen Xiaoming Spezio. Bowen Hamill Mary Spotswood, cum laude. Elizabeth Howard Spruill. Laura Eustace Stagno, magna cum laude. Michael Charles Steedman. Megan Michelle Steele. Rachel Marie Steffen. Coleman James Steigerwald. Mallory Ellen Stevenson, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Emily Cordelia Stewart, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Jack Taylor Stuckey, cum laude. Michael David Sullivan, magna cum laude. William Reeves Hildebrandt Surgener. Keegan Nicholas Sweeney. William Christopher Sikinski. Sierra Rose Tam. Samuel Beckwith Taylor, magna cum laude. Luke David Teague. Mary Michael Teal. Thomas Worth Thagard IV. Thomas Hart Thetford, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Kira Estrada Tomanchok, honors in geology, magna cum laude. John Taylor Tompkins. Nyi Tom Tron, magna cum laude. Morgan Diane Tremus. Davis L. Turner. Christopher Calhoun Tyler. Mara Elizabeth Tynan, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. David Franz Vangelui. Jones Webb Veith. Angel Francisco Vela de la Garza Evia. Katrina Michelle Volk, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Dominic Paul Volpe. Amanda Shea Wallers, honors in economics, cum laude. Anne Marie Walker. Lyndon Lowry Wallace. Amberly Mary Wong, cum laude. Yu Wei Wong, honors in accounting, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. Hunter Allen Ward. Gregory Davis Weaver. Mary Page Welch, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Elena Ridings West. Amanda Joyce Whalen, magna cum laude. William Benjamin Whedon, cum laude. Chandler Francis Wickers. Cole Buchanan Wilbur. Keenan Lacey Willard. James Howard Willie III. Jonathan Tyler Williams, Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude. Stephanie Joan Williams. Sarah Broadnax Williamson. Jessica Nicole Wilt. Hannah Louise Wiltshire. Lillian Johnston Wimberly. Eric Benjamin Worth, cum laude. Amanda Rose Witherspoon. Elizabeth Ruth Wolfe, honors in English. Chase Frederick Wunderlich. Catherine Ann Worthington, cum laude. Yesini Jung, cum laude. Hunter Kane Yates. Bryce Elin McLeod Zaremby. Marin Michael Zhang. March. Noya Zhou. Abigail Renee Zeidel. Joseph Rolf Zoller, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude.
Congratulations to the class of 2018. Please be seated. It is now my duty to bring us to our conclusion. Members of the class of 2018, you are alumni. That may be difficult to process, so let's ease the transition by reminiscing about some of the signal moments of your student days. The acceptance letter you received for the admissions office, moving into your first year room, early morning walks along the colonnade to class, the final game of your career as a general, your senior recital, Goshen Pass, fancy dress, mock convention, the staff member who cared for you during a rough patch, the faculty member who helped you discover an aptitude for art or science or philosophy and nurtured it into a passion, the friends you made who will be part of your lives forever, who will celebrate your marriages, the births of your children, and your future accomplishments. Pause for 1 second and contemplate the setting in which we find ourselves, one of the most beautiful in higher education. Consider the legacy of which you are now a part. Forever, you will be known as a graduate of Washington and Lee University, and you should carry that distinction not only with pride, but also with responsibility and a sense of honor. Come back frequently and know that while the geographic relationship between you and the university will change, the bonds of friendship with the people you have come to know will endure, and they will grow stronger. Think of us often, just as we will continue to think of you. I look forward to seeing you at your 5th reunion and your 10th reunion, and to hearing where life has taken you, and to asking whether you remember anything I said today. But for now, I send you on your way with congratulations and pride and my very best wishes. The 2018 commencement proceedings are adjourned.